Hey everybody, and welcome back to More Than Just a Dog. My name is Kayla, and I was recently asked about how I train the spins for AKC Rally's Masterclass. So today, I'm sharing all of my tips with you. So let's get started. On one of our other rally videos earlier this year, LL Corgis commented and asked for help in training the spins in AKC Rally Master classes, which appear in Science 312, 313, 319, and 320. And the spins can be deceptively simple. You can look at them and say like, yeah, that's a pretty easy behavior to train, but it can give some people a lot of trouble, and I totally understand why. So today I'm sharing my top 5 tips for how to train rally spins. Tip number 1, teach them separately. A lot of times I think we look at this behavior and we think, well, it's just a spin, one goes to the left and one goes to the right, so I'm going to teach them at the same time. But think about that from a human standpoint. Let's say that in high school, for whatever the reason, you're asked to learn both Spanish and Portuguese at the same time. Can you learn them both at the same time? Yes, absolutely. But is it also going to be a little bit harder? Are you going to mix up words or mix up conjugations? Probably, because those languages are very, very similar. So learning both at the same time is going to present a challenge for you. But what if you learned one language and then allowed your understanding and knowledge of that language build up the skills necessary for the other? So what if you learned Spanish first and then let your knowledge of Spanish help you understand Portuguese a little bit better? Seems like an easier way or easier route to take, right? And it's the same thing for dogs with this behavior. They're very similar, and when you're trying to learn 2 things at one time, it can cause something called interference, which basically means that the learning process is going to be more difficult or slower because you're trying to learn 2 similar things at the same time. So instead of teaching them both at the same time, choose to teach one to completion and then teach the other. It doesn't really matter which one you choose first, but in case you're wondering, I chose to teach Maya how to spin to the right or clockwise before I taught her to spin to the left, or counterclockwise. Tip number 2, name them something different. Again, these behaviors are very similar, right? One is a spin to the right and one is a spin to the left, and we know that because we as humans are reading the signs that say dog spins to the right or dog spins to the left. But there's no reason for you to use that official phrase when you're asking your dog to perform these behaviors. Again, very similar behaviors, so name them something totally different. In case you're curious, for my dogs, spin means to spin to the right or go clockwise. Twirl means to spin to the left or go counterclockwise. Spin and twirl are 2 totally different words that my dog's not confused as to which one I'm asking her to do in competition. But if I had called it spin to the right or spin to the left, she has to wait for the end of that phrase to know what exactly I'm asking of her. So make it easier on your dog and make it easier on you too, and call one of them spin or twirl. You can also use other words too, like circle or loop or whatever it is that makes you happy. It doesn't really matter what you call them as long as they're totally different. Tip number 3, teach the spins out in front of you first. If you think about it, most of the behaviors that we train our dogs, we usually teach them in front of us before we ask them to do it at our left-hand side or in heel position. Chances are when you taught your puppy to sit, you taught them in front of you. When you taught them to lay down, you taught them in front of you. Now that's not always true with every behavior, but again, if you think about it, the majority of behaviors we ask our dogs to do, we teach it in front of us before we teach it to our side. Now some of that is ease of training on our part, but it's also easier for them to learn because they can see all of you if they're learning something in front of you. Learning something in heel position where a dog can only see part of your body, part of your face, part of your hand signals, that's a lot harder. So teach it in front of you, and then once they understand the behavior in front of you, graduate to heel position. Tip number 4 is to minimize signals and be aware of your body. Particularly for those of us who have short dogs, this is a huge deal because when we teach our dogs to spin, twirl, or really do anything else, because of the height difference, and I totally understand this because Maya's 12 inches tall and I'm 5'7", there's a big height difference. With short dogs, we tend to hunch over and use pretty big hand signals when we're training. And the reason for that is because our dogs are so far away from us, right? Like when I'm standing up, my dog is several feet from me, even if she's right at my feet. But when I'm in competition, I don't want to have to hunch forward. I don't want to have to bend at the waist. I don't want to have to use giant hand signals that make me look like I'm doing some type of interpretive dance. I'm not a dancer. So I don't want those things, right? Like I want to stand up straight. I want my shoulders to be far back. I want to use minimal hand signals to ask her to do things. But the way that they learn how to do that is by starting at your starting point and then progressing backwards with the size of your hand signals and what your body is doing. So there is absolutely no judgment for me whatsoever. If you need to bend all the way over at the waist and use giant hand signals to get your dog to understand how to do this behavior originally, totally get it. After all, the way that you train spin is to put food in your hand and lead them around in a circle, either clockwise or counterclockwise. And then when they complete that circle, they're gonna get their reinforcement. So for a while, you actually do need to hunch over. You do need to bend. You do need to use some pretty decent sized hand signals. But as your dog starts to understand the behavior, you wanna try to minimize all of that. So instead of hunching over, stand up straight and use a decent sized hand signal. But once they can do it when you're standing up straight and using a decent sized hand signal, now try to make that hand signal smaller. So instead of a big hand signal, it's a medium sized hand signal. And then once they understand how to do it with you standing up straight, shoulders back, medium sized hand signal, now try to do a smaller hand signal. And this will be a spin, but this will be a twirl. I'm gonna help them out. I'm gonna tell them exactly what I'm hoping for with my voice and also with my hand in rally competition. But I also want to make sure that I don't, like I said, have to do a whole big interpretive dance in order to get them to do exactly what that sign says. Tip number 5, and this one is my favorite. Play this game. When you're in the very baby beginning stages of doing this behavior, like I said before, you're gonna lead them around in a circle and you're gonna feed them at the end of that circle, at the end of that rotation. But as they start to understand that, one of the games that you can play with them is you can use your reinforcement in a way that really creates these tight rotations, these really tight turns. And the way that you do that is instead, when they're coming around that rotation, instead of putting out your hand for them to just grab a treat off your hand after finishing their spin or their twirl, you're gonna allow them to start that rotation. As they come around to finish, you're gonna take that treat and you're gonna throw it so that they're gonna do a rotation and another half. So it's a 1.5 rotations. It is so much fun to play this game with your dog. You can do it in either direction. Just make sure if you're going all the way around to the right on a clockwise spin to the right, then you wanna throw it with your right hand side across you so that, again, your dog is doing a rotation and a half. Same thing with the left hand turn, right? So they're gonna come around the left hand side and you're gonna throw it this way. I have loved playing this game with Maya, and it's one of the things I think has given her some really, really tight turns and tight spins in competition. And because you can use a treat with this, you can also use a toy with this too. You can do it with any dog. So if your dog is toy crazy, ball crazy, treat crazy, treat crazy? Treat crazy. It doesn't really matter. Any dog can play this game once you teach them how to do these spins and twirls. And like I said, I think it really ramps up those really tight rotations and their speed. I think it is so much fun for your dog to learn. But training should always be a game. After all, rally is a sport, it's a game, so don't be too hard on your dog and don't be too hard on yourself either. And if you do have any questions about this behavior or any of the other exercises that you might find in rally competition, feel free to leave me a comment. Who knows, if you make a suggestion for a video or you have a question, you might end up with a video dedicated just for you, just like LL Corgis did. So leave me a comment if you have one of those questions or suggestions. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. And if you want to see more content like this, all you have to do is hit subscribe and ring the bell. That way you get alerted every single time we post a new video. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me for this one. I hope you liked it, and no matter what you do with your dog next, good luck and have fun. See ya!